This video contains spoilers for the Destiny 2 Lightfall campaign. If you haven't played through the campaign yet, or you don't want any spoilers for it, then you should probably be watching something else right now. So this is a video where I'm going to be talking you through my experience of the Lightfall campaign and sharing my insights and conjecture and what I basically think of the Lightfall campaign. I'm not covering any other aspects of the game particularly unless they are introduced as part of the campaign. So to start with, we've got a couple of cutscenes, and during these cutscenes I'm going to describe what I think, based on conjecture alone, is interesting in terms of the plot. And so one of the things it mentions here is that Savathûn hid what was something capable of stopping the Witness on Neptune. So what is it that Savathûn hid? Can't be the Veil, because, as we will learn later, the Veil is something that the Ishtar Collective put on Neptune. So that doesn't quite seem to add up. And yet, as we will see, it does appear that the Veil is something that does stop the Witness, and that is why the Witness is so intent on capturing or controlling the Veil during the Lightfall campaign. So during the second cutscene, we'll actually see something, and I'll describe it as we see it.
Vanguard to all units. Keep the enemy away from the Traveler at all cost.
Back in a second cutscene, and the Vanguard are attacking the Pyramid fleet. Amanda Holliday, people have commented on the fact that she's not wearing any kind of a spacesuit or whatever, but as we will see, nobody really seems to give the hard vacuum of space any concessions whatsoever. Apparently it's not that dangerous and you can just go for a walk in it without a spacesuit on, so she's fine. Now, the interesting thing from my point of view is the behaviour of the Witness during this cutscene, and what I believe that actually tells us about plot. And again, this is all conjecture. So we'll see the Witness approaching the Traveller as the Traveller's busted open the side of the pyramid ship that the Witness is travelling on. The Witness goes for a little jaunt through space. The Witness does not require a helmet or a spacesuit.
What is that? The Witness. Whatever that thing is, we gotta take it.
It will reach out its finger towards the Traveller once it's done its little cheese slicer trick on the pilot. The other pilots, not Amanda Holliday, like to wear a helmet in space. They're a little more concerned about hard vacuum. When it reaches the Traveller, the Witness will reach out its finger as though it's about to start trying to make that triangular portal in its side, which is something it does later on. I did warn you there'd be spoilers. Osiris leaves at this point to get on a spaceship. It's going to try and do that, then it's going to stop as though there's something preventing it from doing this, and then it sees this like flash of visions which leads it to Neptune. So it discovers there's something on Neptune that's preventing it from cutting the portal in the side, and it looks surprised, like, oh, something stopped me. So that, I believe, is how it discovers the Veil. So it was going to do its trick, and then the Veil somehow stopped it from doing that. Now we can see that Osiris similarly just goes flying into space with nothing but a bandana around his mouth and his funny little bird hat. So we're tasked with helping Osiris reach the Veil. For some reason,
Found the Veil.
this help Osiris reach the Veil involves me landing on the top of a spaceship and attempting to just surf it. Now the spaceship is clearly moving here. You can see that it's moving. Now we've got debris flying past us. And now it's travelling faster than the speed of light. But look at that upper body strength. I mean, honestly, it's just ridiculous. And that's before you even get into the fact that I am wearing robes in space. And that's fine, apparently. Okay, it's fine. Nothing to see here. And it's reminding us about the mods update, but we fixed all that before we actually started playing the campaign. So got ourselves as ready as we could. Obviously the mods have been massively overhauled, but that's not the purpose of this video, to discuss the new mod system. So basically you start out, you climbed inside of one of these Callus's ships. I call them Callus's ships because it seems that he's in charge of this capture the veil thing. The witness is leaving it all up to Callus. I don't know what the witness is doing, maybe just floating around in space, who knows. But yeah, so you basically crawl through the innards of this ship, shooting off vent covers. The idea being that you're going to disable the ship. Now there's an entire fleet of ships, so disabling one doesn't sound like it's really going to stop Callus reaching the Veil before you do. But then there's also the whole, oh, I'm getting a lift off the ship, so I will reach Neptune at the same time the fleet does. So you fight your way through these new enemies, and the new enemies are the Shadow Legion. So they look, for the most part, like regular Cabal, but with the difference that many of them carry on their backs a kind of shield generator that sort of falls off and projects a kind of yellowish-orange shield around them. Now, this is a point at which Callus comes over the PA system and starts talking about how our alliance with the Witness bears such delectable fruits, etc., etc. And he's talking to his troops, basically, bring glory to the Herald of the Witness. This is problematic because we are told that the Shadow Legion, like the loyal to Callus troops from Season of the Haunted, are mindless husks, basically with no higher brain function. They're just, not like proper thinking space rhinos. They're just sort of almost like zombie troops. So if that's really true, why is Callus giving them a pep talk? Why is he making these speeches? Maybe he just likes to speechify. I mean, the guy might like the sound of his own voice and he just likes giving these grandiose speeches. That's in keeping with his personality, I guess. But it does leave one wondering, is all this about don't worry about killing these troops because they're all just like mindless and can't be convinced to change sides and fight for Keitel? Is that propaganda? Is it? Right, so now we're going to see here where you need a special key card to get through these doors. So they're very handily marked with a hologram showing you which kind of key card you need to get them open. You might think that means this is like going to be a sort of a mechanic going forward throughout the rest of the campaign. It really isn't. It's just for this section while you're on the ships. So you continue to fight your way through the ship with the idea that you're trying to get this key card to open the door, so that you can get to the innermost workings of the ship and kind of break it. Now that was a Warbeast keycard, so of course it doesn't open the Chalice door. It only opens Warbeast doors. And then you unlock the door with the keycard. Easy peasy. Right? Interestingly, there are objects here that appear to be floating to show, look, we're in space. 0G. Except, as you can see, as far as my character's concerned, not 0G. So we're jumping from one part of the ship to the other. And this is where, look at this, we get the first of these Tormentor-type enemies that suddenly just appears. And you see that one has a name. It's got a name. Now this isn't actually a real fight. That's its special attack it's doing there. Yeah, what was that, we ask. And we're told it's the fruits of an unholy alliance between the Witness and Callus. But that's the first time you see one. But like I say, it's kind of a bit of a foreshadowing. You don't actually get to fight it at this point. And to be honest, it's kind of a cheat because it's not actually letting you know about how they really are. So you like blowing off these little sort of capacitors that stick out to destroy the computer core. So on this ship, that's what we're trying to do, is destroy the computer core. So you shoot the little glowy capacitor-looking things that poke off of it, and that apparently destroys the computer core. And then Osiris has an idea for how we're going to get off the Cabal Shadow Legion ship and onto Neptune itself. So he's on a different ship. So now we take this little route across the rocks, which is ridiculous because we're in space, but there's gravity. There was less gravity when we were doing that orbital station for Seraph's Shield, to be honest. And as if travelling through space and by jumping from rock to rock wasn't stupid enough, as you will soon see, the gun, when I fire it, you can hear the noise. You know, in space where there's a vacuum and sound waves don't travel. Well, apparently the space around Neptune has air that carries sound waves, and it's also got gravity. There's more gravity around Neptune, but still it's gravity around Neptune. It pulls you towards Neptune. This gravity doesn't appear to be pulling us towards Neptune, which is currently to our left, as we are in space. Now we're inside, and we're about to disable the engine by shooting something it describes as a radiator. It looks more like a fan blade to me, but there's two of them, one on each side. You basically just shoot it, then you go over the other side and shoot the other one. Now look who's back. Cover-host, Reverend of the Witness. And now we actually get to fight them, it, whatever. But again, it's not quite working like an actual tormentor normally would in combat. Part of the reason for that is probably because it's named. Might also because they wanted to make the combat easier, I'm not sure. You have to shoot it in that glowing area on its chest. It has attacks that can suppress you, just like a regular tormentor, prevent you from using your abilities, but it doesn't do quite as many of the really very irritating proper tormentor attacks, like the one where it uses its scythe to basically put a big purple thing in the sky that continually throws stuff at you. It got me with its special attack here, but then I'm able to just finish it immediately afterwards because I've done enough damage to it that it can be finished. And that's rather unusual for a named boss like that you can finish it. Normally I don't think you can do that with like a proper named boss. Well, then you catch up with Osiris.
Hurry up!
Are those things safe?
Can't be.
Who's sitting in one of the escape pods. There's places for the other escape pods. The escape pods, look at that, they do seem a little bit cramped inside, especially when you consider that they're actually built to carry Cabal, who are about 10 feet tall and considerably wider than a human being. So it is looking very tight inside of this pod. But you take the pod down to the surface of Neptune. Then here we are on Neomuna. This is our first look at Neomuna, and it's looking very different to anything we've seen before, which is nice. But there go the Cloud Striders. Now, the Cloud Striders contact you over the radio and ask you, identify yourself, are you with the invaders? But they've literally just flown right past you. Why didn't they land and take a look? Why didn't they land and, point guns at you and basically ask you who you were, rather than simply flying past and going, hey, you, who just got out of one of those drop pods that's exactly the same type of drop pod that all these invading Cabal have been dropping onto our planet in. What are you doing here, Not only that, but they're kind of busy doing what? Fighting the Shadow Legion. Did they not just fly right past? There's a whole bunch of Shadow Legion here. They don't want to fight these ones. Well, are they going to leave it to us to do it? They didn't even know we were on their side when they came past. It just doesn't really make much sense. You see the Cloud Striders just fly straight past like that. So then we're talking about, it's the last city and we're not the only ones left. And wait till they hear about this back on Earth sort of thing. But I have to say, I was very disappointed with Neomuna once I got to travel round it a little bit. Now, at this point, it's not immediately obvious what the problem is. But when I saw the trailers for Lightfall, I really thought that it was going to be this awesome city. Unlike what's left on Earth, which is all half destroyed and ruined from the Dark Age and the collapse. And I was wanting to basically travel around this new city, enjoying the fact that it wasn't, a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And in actual fact, Neomuna is just as empty as everywhere else in Destiny 2. So, when you go to Europa and you go around the Braytech facility and you're like, wow, it's like Golden Age technology, but it's like all abandoned and it's empty and all these empty labs and everything. Neomuna is just like a giant version of that. It's like this giant, pristine, shiny, technologically advanced looking place, but it's empty. There's nobody there. And of course it's battle damaged because it's being attacked, but you see like scorched buildings and stuff in places. And here we find our first strand empowerment point. We play around with it and all of a sudden, boom, we've got our strand powers. So this was my first time with the Warlock, obviously. The first time I played through the campaign was with my Hunter. And now, in order to make this video, I played through it with my Warlock. I say to make the video. I mean, obviously I want to unlock Strand for the Warlock as well, but obviously they have different powers, so I'm getting to grips with the Warlock powers for the first time here. They get to throw needles about and make lots of threadlings. So very different to the Hunter powers, really. I think what you see though, when they throw those needles with their powered melee, it creates unraveling. It unravels the enemies. Whereas the Hunter powered melee has one of the other Strand keyword effects called Sever. Severs the enemy. So severing an enemy apparently makes it do less damage. Whereas unraveling it is, I would have to say, a lot better because it just takes the enemy out and then bits of them fly off and hit other enemies. So it's a bit like Volatile with Void, only it's Strand. And then you can see the super basically creates a whole bunch of threadlings. But unlike usual threadlings, which just head off and try and find an enemy to attack, with the Warlock, they just sort of orbit round you till they can find something. So they might go off to try and find something. But if they get far away from you and they haven't found an enemy, they just come back and orbit round you. I think the official term for this is perching. But they can like climb up walls and things. I mean, some people think of them like insects. I don't think they look anything like insects. Redlings are like following me around now. Looking for enemies. You don't find one, they come back. Oops, I got booped up for the edge there by one of the enemies, but I was able to use the grapple to pull myself back and save my life. So you can see like green things sort of bouncing around like ricocheting bullets and stuff. And again, I think that's the result of the unravelling. And if unravelling an enemy kills them, so long as the tangle isn't on cooldown, it creates one of these strand tangles. And then once it wears off, you get this exhausted effect, and you're basically, you know, in a hangover state. But that's fine at this point because that's our first try with the strand, and then we're straight into a cutscene where we're properly introduced to the Cloud Striders. There goes Nimbus with their naff fighting style, basically swinging their big flat piece of metal around like it's some kind of weapon. It would be cool if it was actually designed so that it did work as a weapon, but in actual fact it looks like a liability rather than a potentially useful weapon. I'm sure they're great for like zooming about near Mooneron if you've got the balance for that, but they don't seem to be particularly handy to use as a weapon. They'd be better off just using their own arms and legs basically. And then Osiris jumps out of his pod like he's expecting a fight. So if you take a look at what they look like in this scene, you'll see that the two Cloud Striders have fairly light skin. The skin tone is sort of Caucasian skin tone. Later on, when you see Rohan indoors at the watchtower, he's darker skinned, which is a bit weird. Now, I'll just say here that, honestly, I am not a massive fan of the character design. The character design of the Cloud Striders, that is, because they are a lot of flesh, a lot of chrome. The way that they look is kind of an uncanny valley thing compared to most of the other characters. The other characters in the game, I think, animated very well and designed very well, and don't come across as too weird and creepy. And I'm not just talking about the human ones. I'm talking about Keitel and the Elixni characters, Mithrax and Spider and Eramis. You know, they're all well designed and move in a way that's believable for what they are. But then along come these Cloud Striders. They do not look properly finished. They look weird. There's something off about them, and it's not just all that flesh and chrome and veininess. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the character design for the Cloud Striders. Some people are irritated by the way they speak, particularly Nimbus's sort of lame attempts at sounding like some kind of a teenager that thinks they're very cool, that it sort of detracts from the high drama that we've reached by this point in the plot. It is a little bit of a mismatch, but I'm not as irritated by that as I am by how they look. The way that they move, the fact that Nimbus looks like they've had several ribs removed, too much flesh, too much vein, too much chrome. Callus, on the other hand, just looks like he's been electroplated. That was his big transformation. Look at me. I've got an electroplated arm and an electroplated foot. Yeah, cool. That's what he wanted. Then he has all that he could wish for. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, The Witness is giving people these things, offering them all sorts of whatever it is that they want, because at the end of the day, the Witness gets the help with what they've got planned. It doesn't really matter. None of it matters, because as far as I'm concerned, and again, this is massive amount of conjecture from me, but as far as I'm concerned, the Witness is intent on doing away with everything, like the whole universe, make it all go away. That's what they want to happen, I believe. I think that the Witness sees life as suffering and pain, and therefore, in order to get rid of all the suffering and pain, we must get rid of all the life. And I think that's what the Witness's end goal is. And so concludes part 1 of my assessment of Lightfall campaign. Now, making this video has taken a great deal more time and effort than I really conceived would be required to make a review video of the entire campaign. So I think I'm going to have to do it in multiple episodes. Probably not one episode per mission, at least I hope not. That would take way too long. I'll do the review of the rest of the campaign in parts. Hopefully I'll be a little more vigorous with my editing for the future ones, so that I don't have to show you quite so much and we can just get through it in a reasonable amount of time. But thank you very much everybody for watching. I know you're probably sick of hearing this on YouTube videos, but please do like and subscribe, because damn that algorithm, we need them likes and subscribes. Otherwise we put a lot of time and effort in and then no one actually gets to see the content. So if you have enjoyed it in any way whatsoever and don't think it absolutely sucks, then hit that like button. It's free. Thank you very much. Bye for now.